over 55 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by the Georgia Farm Bureau in association with Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College.
Well, when it comes to important subject matters, this particular show is stacked from top to bottom. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Farm Monitor. Ray DeLessio and Jennifer Parson at your service.
Yes, welcome to the show. So much to cover in the next half hour, and as you're about to see, it includes a number of key issues affecting the state's farmers. Coming up after last year's wins, Georgia agriculture is facing tougher talks under the Gold Dome. We'll tell you the key issues farmers want lawmakers to focus on. And while lawmakers were debating solutions in Atlanta, farmers were also looking ahead, gathering in Tifton for a clearer picture of what 2026 could bring.
Plus, after the storm, after the damage, after the cameras left, what remained was battered wood, memories, and a choice. Now one man is turning what was lost into something that's helping others heal and move forward. These stories and more right now on the Farm Monitor. It's been said the best way to gauge future performance is to look to the past. That's why the annual Georgia Ag Forecast meeting is so important, as it provides farmers a detailed projection of the coming year using recent trends throughout the industry. Damon Jones tells you what those models are showing and what it means for agriculture in 2026.
It was a meeting of the minds recently in Tifton, where leaders from all sectors of agriculture gathered to discuss the future of the industry. Each and every year, the University of Georgia plays host to the Georgia Ag Forecast meeting, where those in attendance get an in-depth look at some of the issues farmers might be facing in the coming year.
The reason we like to do this is to bring together producers, legislators, lenders, people from the community to really give them a picture about what's going on in agriculture at this point in time, and also to give some projections about what we see into the future. To me, it's important that we give them the information they need so they can make wise and the best decisions in regards to increasing agriculture production and minimizing those costs they have.
Those decisions take on even more significance in 2026 as farmers around the state are looking to dig out of a hole created by the current market conditions. This despite recent numbers showing income on the farm actually increasing last year, which could obscure some of the many struggles being felt.
So the first is that net farm income includes government payments to agriculture, and it's also, of course, composed of livestock and crop income. And in 2025, we saw a big increase in government payments. We also saw an increase in livestock receipts. So the net farm income numbers went up, but that's hiding the situation that we're seeing in most of the crop markets, which is a pretty significant cost-price squeeze.
The uncertainty producers faced last year is likely to carry over into 2026, as there are still numerous unresolved concerns both on and away from the farm that could have a major impact on their bottom line.
I think the main uncertainty in 2026 is going to be primarily related to international trade. So if we have any major disruptions to international trade, that could certainly affect some major commodities in Georgia. Poultry would be one, cotton would be another. Also, livestock disease. We've not seen New World screwworm. We have had some avian influenza incidents. If those start to spread, that could have a big impact.
The future of the industry isn't just about the numbers, but also awareness. And one of the key talking points was engaging the community about why agriculture is so important to their everyday lives.
We have to do a better job of telling the story of agriculture, where food comes from, because there's so many people that take that for granted and do not really understand everything that it takes to get something from the animal or the plant onto the table. And there's a lot of steps that have to happen to that. And we need to do a better job of telling that story.
Reporting from Tifton, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
One of the highlights of this year's event was the naming of the 2026 Georgia Farmer of the Year. That honor going to Macon County's Pete Gelber, who operates Barrington Dairies, a more than 13,000 cow operation featuring 3 state-of-the-art parlors. It's an honor and a lifestyle this Bronx, New York native says he couldn't be happier about.
So agriculture's been my life. I'm up in my mid-60s now, and I'm still fired up about what I do, and I still get out and milk cows most every day. Well, it's quite an honor. It's kind of a reflection on your life's work. So it's very nice.
More than 2 weeks into Georgia's legislative session, ag leaders say the focus is shifting from opening day optimism to the real work ahead. From rising costs to disaster recovery, advocates are pressing to keep farmers' concerns front and center as key decisions take shape under the Gold Dome. Our John Holcomb has more from Atlanta.
The 2026 legislative session is now underway here in Georgia, and as always, it's expected to be a busy few weeks as lawmakers finish out the second year of the 2-year session, half of which, according to GFB State Affairs Manager Adam Bellflower, turned out to be a successful year for the state's #1 industry.
I would say 2025 was a very successful year for agriculture here at the Capitol in Atlanta. We had a lot of really important issues that were championed by some folks here in the General Assembly that we got to celebrate crossing the finish line. We got to see Hurricane Helene relief for farmers and landowners across Southeast Georgia. We saw a historic tort reform effort led by Governor Kemp that we really saw a lot of victory for our small business owners and farmers. There was some really important investments in the budget that are going to help equip our farmers all across the state with the resources they need. There was the truck weights legislation last year. Last year was just a really good year.
According to Bellflower, affordability is a major concern for Georgia farmers this year, and agriculture is no exception, as rising costs, low prices, and recent disasters have put added strain on Georgia farmers.
One of the issues that legislators are hearing a lot from their constituents back home is just the idea of affordability. How do we decrease the cost of doing business? How do we decrease the cost of living? And just all in all, just make the quality of life better for Georgians by making things a little bit more affordable. And I would say that's no different for us, right? It's been pretty challenging times in the agriculture industry. We have had some of the biggest natural disasters in our state's history the past couple years, especially with Hurricane Helene, coupled with really economic hardship, really high input prices, record high input prices, with record low commodity prices. That equation doesn't make for a very profitable farm economy. So we're coming up here trying to work with the General Assembly, finding policies that are going to help bring some relief to farmers, but also trying to find some policies that could strengthen some of our commodity markets and really just overall make the farm economy a little bit better and a little bit more stable.
As the session progresses, Bellflower says his focus is making sure lawmakers understand how policy plays out on the ground, serving as a trusted resource, helping prevent unintended consequences for farmers in rural communities.
We want to come up here and be a trusted resource for them that they can ask questions to, and that as they're proposing policy, we're helping them think through what might be the consequences, both intended and unintended, of the legislation they're pushing, because oftentimes we will see unintended consequences of legislation that could be very negative and have a pretty negative impact on our farm families and on our farmers. So we come up here really with that mindset.
Reporting in Atlanta for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
What happens when destruction meets intention? Coming up, how fallen pecan trees from Hurricane Helene are being transformed into something that honors farmers, families, and the land itself.
For generations, agriculture has defined and guided the economic landscape around Southwest Georgia. And to help continue that, Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College added their nationally recognized ag education program to the Bainbridge campus. It's an exciting development that's been years in the making.
It's been part of the vision from the very beginning when I started a little over 3 years ago, and I'm just really proud of the team. It's a team effort, and that everybody jumped on board and that we moved into action and put all the logistics in place to be able to do this. So we're just incredibly excited.
And so should all prospective students in the surrounding area, as this now opens the door for those looking to stay close to home while also earning a college degree in agriculture. It's the type of workforce development that can only strengthen the industry within the state.
There may be some folks that are currently working within industry that want to complete a degree, and I think that then they're going to be able to do that because we're going to be closer to home. And then also there may be some students that don't wish to travel to Tifton, and so they can find this a little bit more accessible as well.
This county, this region, it's a huge agricultural footprint here. And as you know, this program is the leading agricultural education program in the country, and it just makes sense to be able to expand that reach, not only the offerings here, but be able to better service this region and provide those opportunities for students that are looking to move into the agricultural pathways.
Despite the name, this is a versatile program that offers plenty of courses for those looking to get into fields like ag management or extension.
Sometimes people will hear the term agricultural education and think that's teacher preparation, which it is. We also then have what we call a track called agricultural studies within that major. So if there's a student that wants to focus on agronomy or something that they want to focus in more animal science related, they have that flexibility to do that. So that's why we've chose that degree, working with industry partners to really develop work-ready graduates that can stay in this region, which is a great agricultural impacted area, and to really supply them with the next generation of workers, but managers, innovators, and that know the technical side of agriculture.
Reporting from Bainbridge, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
There are moments in this job when the pictures speak first. In the hours and days after Hurricane Helene, they said plenty. Orchards were completely flattened and trees uprooted, leaving massive holes in the ground. Worst of all, livelihoods were scattered across fields that once stood tall. For many, what was left behind was simply loss, just massive burned piles of debris. But for one artist in North Georgia, those fallen trees tell a different story, not of what was lost, but what can still be made. From the wreckage of Helene, Tom Sudreth saw something others didn't, the chance to turn destruction into meaning and wood, once written off as trash, into works of art that are helping Georgia farmers rebuild.
The sound is steady, measured, intentional. Inside a small workshop in Kennesaw, Georgia, Tom Sudreth works the same way he always has, one piece at a time, letting the wood guide the story. But this wood is different. Its scars weren't made by tools, they were carved by a hurricane.
So when you first saw here in Georgia the downed trees, the destruction over all these orchards, did you immediately think about using the wood then, or did that come later?
Not at all. Pecan wood is one of my favorite woods to turn. I like it because it has such a natural contrast between the bark and the heartwood, and I've always loved to turn it. And for me, it's always been a good project and sells well in my art shows. So what gave me the awareness of the issues with farmers and the state of Georgia was looking for pecan wood to turn bowls out of.
Helene didn't just knock down trees, it erased decades of growth. Across South Georgia, pecan orchards that once defined family farms were reduced to broken trunks and tangled roots, reminders of how quickly everything can change. For farmers, it wasn't just trees that were lost. It was time, income, and legacy.
So when was that aha moment that you saw possibility when others saw damage, destruction, total loss?
Wow, possibility, good question. So we drove down to Dublin and got off the interstate. And that's when it started to hit me. Driving through the rural areas, we did not see a single house that didn't either have a tree down on the house, by the house, or a big giant root ball where the tree had been cut up and hauled away. Every house, every farm had damage. And the further into the rural area we went, the more damage we saw.
That's when the work began. Not to erase what happened, but to preserve it. The result became what Tom calls the Helene series, hand-turned bowls made from storm-damaged pecan trees. Every piece signed and numbered. And every piece tied to something bigger than art.
And I'm sure, Tom, you remember turning that first bowl made from Helene wood. Take us back to that time when you were turning that bowl. What was it like? What was that feeling, turning something that you knew had so much rich family history?
It was pretty special to see the revelation of the beauty of the wood in a turned bowl. I turn all the pecan bowls with the live edge like so, just to highlight the bark and the variations in the wood. So yeah, it was pretty special.
There's no attempt here to make the wood perfect. The cracks remain, the edges stay rough, the storm still visible. Because perfection would erase the story. And this story of resilience, loss, and recovery deserves to be seen.
After turning the first bowl, my wife and I had a discussion that we wanted to honor the source of the wood by finding a nonprofit that we could donate part of the proceeds from the sale of the bowls to, and to affiliate with that nonprofit and promote anything. And we looked at United Way, the Red Cross and things like that. They're giant, and found a website called Weathered But Strong. Georgia Foundation for Agriculture had stood it up and gotten funding from a lot of different sources to assist Georgia farmers. And that kind of touched my heart. I thought local, located in Macon, Weathered But Strong really tells the story of Georgia farmers. And so it became an honor and a privilege to donate part of the proceeds from the sale of the bowls to Weathered But Strong, which we continue to do to this day.
What was once written off as rubble now carries meaning. A reminder that even after the storm has passed and the cameras have left, something lasting can still be made.
Loss of home, loss of livelihood, pretty serious stuff. And so I just hope to keep it in front of people so that they know, so that maybe they'll be moved to make a donation or thank a farmer, for putting food on their table.
When we come back, from military service to managing 200 head of cattle, Cobbtown's Handy Kennedy is rewriting the playbook on pasture-based farming and using data to drive every decision.
Finally this week, Cobbtown's Handy Kennedy is proving just how valuable data can be when it comes to running a successful operation. And thanks to our friends at SARE, Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education, we get a closer look at how he's improving both forage and livestock management to build a high-value herd.
One of the challenges that I had to overcome when I came back to the farm was how do I bring my thoughts of embracing technology and embracing new methods of farming. How do I incorporate that in a way that would bring the next generation on? Because we know making data-driven decisions every day gives you the competitive edge. Here at HK Farm and HKJ Ranch, we run approximately 200 head of cattle on the farm in a given year. We are a pasture-based cattle operation. HK Farm legacy started in 1869, so we've been in agriculture since that time. Upon graduating from high school in 1985, I spent 4 years in the military. After the military, I went to college for 4 years. I was trying to get away from the farm as far as possible. Upon my father's death, I came back to the farm and knew that in order to make this farm profitable and sustainable, we had to adopt new technologies and start making decisions based upon data. So what I had to do was basically become a experiment site for my particular farm. And so I showed the family how I was using data-driven decisions and new technologies on my farm to advance a more efficient way of producing cattle. So once they saw me implement it on my farm and gradually taking those same technologies and using it to advance their farm, they were more receptive to incorporate everything that I was doing on my farm onto their farm. It's a gradual process, but it is a process if you believe in what you are doing, that you will convince the family that this is the way that the farm needs to be in order to stay sustainable and profitable. For example, when I started incorporating legume into my farm, I knew that it would help reduce the nitrogen costs. By planting a small acreage of legume, they saw that the next year that I was able to reduce the amount of nitrogen that I needed for that particular plot of land. So they saw a reduce in input costs. And when you reduce an input cost, that means more profit for you. So my advice to any beginning farmer is to use your farm or your particular land. You may not have your own farm, or you can say, give me these 10 acres and I want to implement new technologies and make decisions based upon data for this small acreage. And then you can prove to them that new technologies, data-driven decision, it will give you the competitive edge in today's market, because we know that yesterday's best is today's average. And so we have to continue to get better at farming operations.
Another great example of how innovation and legacy go hand in hand. Well, you hear that music? That means it's just about time for us to go.
Yes, but before we do, a reminder that for all the latest ag news, recipes, and what's happening on Georgia farms, be sure to check out all of our social media platforms, including farm-monitor.com. And for all you podcast listeners, if you haven't checked out the Georgia Farm Bureau podcast, Growing On, you are missing out. John Holcomb, the man, does a great job having real conversations with the people shaping Georgia agriculture, and he would love for you to join him. Just search Growing On wherever you get your podcasts.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time right here on the Farm Monitor. Have a great week.